All right, we're on week 11.
Day 77
Yep.
of the 90-day carnivore challenge. So, how's it been for you this week?
Oh, it's been great
Your
this
stomach?
week. My stomach, I've had just minor issues. I treated it like it was an ulcer, and that's helped significantly. So I'm coming off of that medicine now to see how my stomach reacts. But I've got a few other follow-up appointments to see how things are going. So as far as stomach goes, it's been good. Treated it like an ulcer, so pretty sure it was an ulcer. Was it caused by carnivore or stress? I don't know.
It's plausible.
But we'll see. But yeah, as far as stomach issues go, a lot better. A lot better. I feel like mentally, and I don't know, just felt good this week. So what about you?
Yeah, still on the same track as last week. A whole lot of positives to say about it. A lot of improvement still we're seeing, and we'll get into that and a little bit of some things we've learned this week, and got some more questions. Maybe we'll learn from it in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we usually do like our negative and positives.
Yeah. Those are getting kind of the same.
The same. And there's one thing that I have not mentioned. We've mentioned a lot because we farm and we're busy constantly. And this is a busy time of year, and I'm more down today because we had a very hectic day yesterday, and I was up at 3 a.m. checking on a cow that we're fixing to have calf, and so I'm a little tired. But this is our busy time of year, and usually my back is going out like crazy.
Yeah, you always usually complain about.
Yeah, like my back's going out. I'm like hunched over by the end of the day. I'm not running into that. Now, last night, what made me think of that is when I crawled into bed after having a very, very busy day. Woke up at 6 a.m. and we went until after dark. And like I said, I was up at 3 a.m. checking on the cows. And when I laid down, it was like, oh, my back's sore. It was my lower back, and it was like a twinge. And I was like, whoa, I haven't had any of that. So, which was, I believe, would be inflammation.
Yeah.
And so that has been a huge, huge positive. I would probably say my number one positive. I was getting some killer backaches, and just a lot of back pain anytime we were doing anything. And we're always extremely active, so it was like all the time I was dealing with my back going out and just being run down. And so that's been a huge positive.
So my positive would be similar to that. I mentioned it last week how my inflammation issue has been pretty much resolved. It went from being a 3.4 to a 0.3. Had the blood work to prove that, and I haven't had any back pain, and I don't know when. Weeks. It's probably just the beginning of this. I feel so great. One thing I think the most positive thing I can say about carnivore and what it has made me realize is all the issues that I had pre-carnivore, my digestive issues, my inflammation, all that. I thought that was the normalcy of life. Like I've been living with that day in, day out, that pain, and just
like you're getting
dealing
older.
with it. Yeah, like I'm getting older.
Like that's just part of it.
That's just aging. Yeah, but changing the way I ate has made me feel so great.
And which makes you understand, like you see these older gentlemen and older women who are, going to the gym and they're living a healthy lifestyle, and they're not dealing with half of the problems that a lot of the older generation deals with, who are not taking a healthy stance on life or trying to make the better decisions. So you can kind of understand more when you see people that are like that, like, oh, what are they doing? I think they're just eating right and exercising, because we've seen that firsthand about how good we feel.
We were like that pre-carnivore, like knowing your food, knowing your farmer, eating healthy. But this is just reinforced that statement, concreted into our lifestyle now. You don't have to settle with normalcy. Change that's the end. You don't have to settle with normalcy. Change what's at the end of your fork.
And it'll help. That sounds good. Yeah. And there are people with autoimmune disorders and, different things that maybe this way does not heal completely.
Completely, yeah.
Right. And so you're still going to have ailments and stuff, obviously. But for the majority of people, you can understand now how those older people are doing it, because that was one of my things. It's like, gosh, I'm feeling old. I'm 36. So, I mean, I'm closer to 40 now than I was last year, and you're 30, you'll be 37 this year.
37, yeah.
So, we're getting up there as far as almost to our 40s, but we're still young as well. And so to have these issues that we're writing off as well, we're just getting older. That mindset can be very easy to get into.
Yeah, it may not always be that case. It's just getting older. It's what's going on in your body and what you're eating.
Yeah.
So
negative wise,
nothing to say.
I don't think anything this week. And y'all know me with the carnivore. Now, we are not strict carnivore. If you're just joining us for this journey, I feel like for 64, 65 days, we were what we say is classic carnivore, which was pretty dang strict.
It was like 98% carnivore, 2% was dairy, and your coffee. But I don't do coffee.
No, and since then, we've started slowly adding things back in. We haven't jumped off the deep end. There's been times with 1 and 2, I'm not going to lie. The boys had pizza last night. I did try a bite of it. I'm not going to lie. It was fantastic. But I was able to try a bite and put it down. Well, Atticus.
It smells so good.
Well, Gustus was like, I don't want to eat this. And I was like, why? And he's like, it just doesn't taste good. Well, I took a bite of it because I felt like I could. I'm past that mental of, I can't have this. Took a bite of it. And I was like, oh, it's really good. Like, this tastes good, but I don't want any more of it. And that's kind of been the flow that we've been going into, like with that mentality of it's there and you can try it and you can have a little bit, but you don't have to eat all of it, because if you want it some other time, it'll be there and you can have it then too. Don't deprive yourself now, and make yourself think, well, let me just have it this day and I'll start tomorrow. You kind of fall into that trap. So
with that pizza, we looked at the ingredients and we were pretty impressed with the ingredients, and all organic, nothing bad. It would be something that I would eat if we weren't on this carnivore. I'm sticking as close as I can to as classic as I can. I'm not 98% right now. I may be like 92, 94 and a half, something like that, because we're introducing fruits and things, trying to see how it affects our bodies. And I'll talk about some of those things we've introduced in a little bit.
You've stuck to it a little bit.
I'm stricter with it than she has been.
Me. And in my defense, that is because I was having all of those stomach issues that I had never had pre-carnivore. I'd never, ever ran into those. I've dealt with stressful situations my entire life, with different scenarios, and never have dealt with, if it was an ulcer or whatever it may be, had never dealt with that before. So for me, health-wise, I gave it the 60-something days, which is phenomenal as far as if you think about eating something as restrictive as carnivore is. I think that's fantastic. And so I have veered off in a way of like, I've got to try to eat a little bit more. And at the beginning, when we talked about last week, we were like, well, let's switch to paleo. You'll hear me use the term paleo just because I think of paleo as like the diet paleo. It does not mean that I have paleo beliefs or anything like that. It's just when I say paleo, I'm referring to the diet, not any kinds of beliefs originating around paleo. I wanted to make that clear. Also, we've had the discussion this week that I don't even want to say I'm doing the paleo diet in a sense, because the paleo has restrictions as well. You can't have dairy. We have our own dairy cows. We make our own butter. We make our own yogurt. We have raw milk. We're partaking all that. We have for 10 years. That's not something that I'm going to give up. And so for me, it was like, listen, I'm just going to call it a whole foods diet. You've got paleo and you've got Whole30, and they're pretty much hand in hand. And Josh was like, well, you just need to call it the animal-based diet, because that's pretty much what it boils down to when you're eating.
That's the direction I'm going to go.
Right. When you're eating more of a whole food type way of eating. And that's really what I'm going for. Not so much of like, well, can't have grain. Like, I would love to have sourdough occasionally, and I'm going to still do the raw milk, and that's not Whole30. So you'll hear us talk about that when you hear me say that. I use a ton of paleo recipes, a ton of Whole30 recipes. That is probably 95% of what I cook, is using that recipe book. So when you hear me refer to that, really, I wouldn't say we're like on that diet, but it's like more of a whole foods diet.
I mean, we could have a dish that's paleo, a dish that's carnivore,
right,
a dish that's more animal based. Mm-hmm. In reality, they're all pretty much similar.
It's just the whole food basis.
They're all healthy. Mm-hmm. One thing eliminates this, the other one does that. Just eat healthy.
Yeah.
Eat whole foods. But I am leaning more towards, I've been saying it for a while now, the animal based diet. I think that drives well with our lifestyle. It allows you raw milk, raw honey, and a lot of different fruits. And I'm liking that more than carnivore. I'm thriving on carnivore, hands down thriving on carnivore, and my inflammation and digestive issues resolved. I'm trying to introduce some things that I can add into my diet without raising that inflammation level up. And all the things we've been adding thus far has been animal based on that list we shared last week, wasn't it?
It's either last week or the week before
I don't
last.
know where that list went.
I don't either.
Need to reprint it.
Need to hang it on the fridge.
But I've been adding those items, and so far everything's been positive, except a few things that weren't on that list.
What was that?
So let's go into
what we ate this week.
Yeah, let's go, and then we'll talk about some of that.
So on Monday we did the chaffles with salmon.
Well, that's been one of our go-tos for a while,
and it's super easy.
Yeah.
Salmon bites, like the salmon by itself. So we buy like the prepackaged, like what do you call it, like deli salmon. Yeah, it's ready to go, ready to eat. It's a little fishy to me just eating it by itself, but putting it on those chaffles with
egg, cream cheese,
a little bit of beef liver, dehydrated beef liver, it's really, really good.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So before we go on to the next day, I want to finish talking on the milk. So a week or two ago on that recap video, I mentioned how I want to increase the amount of raw milk that I'm drinking, because I hadn't consumed it in, what was it, 64 days? I hadn't consumed raw milk. Then I got my blood work ran. After that, I wanted to increase my raw milk intake. So when I get blood work ran in 90 days, I want to see if my inflammation level increases. So I've been pretty much drinking a cup a day in the mornings of raw milk and adding this beef Paleo Valley, the bone broth protein powder in it. Been doing that on a daily basis. It's been great. Seen no issues with it. We'll see what the numbers say in 90 days if anything changes. But and then we added some yogurt as well. I've been eating raw yogurt.
I did
not raw yogurt, homemade yogurt.
Homemade yogurt using raw milk.
Yeah.
But Tuesday we did a fish fry, and what we did with ours, so everybody else had theirs, the old-fashioned Southern way in cornbread and flour and fried. And so how I did it was like I've done weeks and weeks ago. I didn't batter it. I dipped it in butter and then put it in the pork panko crumbs and then air fried it in the oven. And it was good. It was good. The reason I hesitate a little bit is because it was the oven air fried. So it was different consistency than the actual air fryer, but it was still good. So what did we introduce Wednesday?
All right. So on Wednesday, we introduced almond butter. You had issues with just regular almonds and salt.
Last Sunday.
I
ate just a handful of them.
Digestive issues and all that.
Yeah.
So this week, we introduced just almond butter.
Almond butter.
All it is just almond butter. Nothing else in it at all.
There's so many whole food recipes that you can use with that almond butter. So
that would be more paleo.
Yeah.
Minded on that.
Yeah.
Animal based, it says to avoid almonds if you your body can't tolerate it. Well, this week we determined that almond butter, we can tolerate it. I did like 1 or 2 spoonfuls of almond butter each day this week, and it was a great little treat. No issues at all. So if we go animal based, we'll include almond butter in that. And
even going a step further with almond butter. So one of our boys' favorite snacks is peanut butter, and I just get organic peanut butter that's just peanuts and ground up, just like the almond butter that we get. And I mix it with some honey. So that is a super duper easy protein packed treat. And so we could do the same thing with almond butter and honey. So it's just little things like that you gotta kind of realize, like, that's a treat and that's good and it tastes fantastic and that's whole and good for me. So we're actually tonight going to try almond butter ice cream. So we'll see how that goes.
With that?
The
coconut. We'll talk about that in a minute. Forget you heard that.
Okay, so Thursday.
All right, let me go into Thursday.
Oh, Wednesday. Well, for supper, we tried the almond butter, and for supper, we just had tuna. Wednesday was a slam-packed day, too. So we were out in the pasture up until like 30 minutes before we had to be at church, and so I opened up a few cans of tuna and threw it together with some yogurt. What else did you put in it?
Put dehydrated beef liver, salt, eggs, and cream cheese, and it was really tasty. It was fast. I mean, we were eating in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, and that was great. Super convenient and still eating good. And then Thursday.
So this is gonna be a long one. So when we did the fish Tuesday, a lot of it was thawed, and we didn't eat it all. I think it was because y'all left some in the fridge. Didn't realize
that we had that more.
So we had more crappie fish in the refrigerator to eat Thursday, and they did the panko as well for us, and then the other
same way.
The non-carnivores it was baked, I believe, in the oven, wasn't it?
No, it was fried. I did it the same way.
Fried in what?
Olive oil.
Fried in olive oil. Okay. I didn't write that variable down right there.
Yeah, I used olive oil.
So after we got done eating, I was still hungry. There wasn't nothing else on that table that I could eat, and nothing else in the house really that I could eat other than cheese, maybe. I was still hungry, and there was like 2.5 pieces of fish left that was baked in olive oil,
fried
in olive oil, and battered in cornmeal and flour. And I ate it. It was delicious. And then we had to go out and work on.
It's like we're doing a confession.
Yeah,
but
it was delicious. Hit the spot, and I was not hungry anymore. That's the purpose of it. But we went outside to work on Callie's dad's truck. Within like an hour, I was burping up that flavor, and then my stomach started churning, and I got pretty gassy. My digestive system,
which has been phenomenal,
since
the beginning of this. However day, whatever that was. And believe me when I say it's been phenomenal, because there was some crazy stuff that I was having to deal with up until that. So
it was a medical condition.
Anyways,
but so
it went south fast.
It went south fast, yeah. Now that night, my stomach was churning. I haven't had that issue in weeks since starting this carnivore. So it brought to realization some things that the cornmeal. Could I be sensitive to corn, or could I be sensitive to the wheat, the flour? So a lot of questions right there, because I was introducing my diet the first time. Hadn't had that, and that issue come up immediately. And the corn. So as many of you know that we're farmers, we sell to our local community and statewide in Alabama. We produce corn and soy free meat. Our animals are fed corn and soy free.
Those that eat grain.
Yeah.
We do grass fed lamb and beef.
So our ruminant animals eat grass. The grain fed animals, the pigs, the chickens, they have to have grain. So it's non-GMO, verified feed, corn and soy free. Reason why we did corn and soy, and also, by the way, on the animal-based diet, it says to try to eat meats that are corn and soy free. That's what we produce and sell. So that's a plus right there. But we weren't always corn and soy free. We didn't choose that because it was our preference, that we had sensitivity to it. We went corn and soy free because over time, our customers started saying, hey, I'm sensitive to this soy, this corn. I can't get this in the store. It affects me. More and more people started asking us that, and became a demand that we saw. And as a farmer, it's our role, that I believe, to provide what, one, our families need, and two, what our communities need. So we didn't go corn and soy free because it was something we wanted to do because we suffer from allergies. It was what our customer base needed. And I have never really considered that the corn and soy or wheat or any of that was what's causing my issues with inflammation and digestive issues. Never crossed my mind whatsoever. So we went corn and soy free on our feed, not simply because it's what we needed. It's just what our customers asked for, because they couldn't confidently get it in the stores because they were sensitive to it, had allergic reactions to different foods they got in the store. So we met that need. Happy to do that. That's our role as a farmer. And this carnivore diet has brought up the questions now to me. Could I be sensitive to those things? Could I be sensitive to the corn, to the wheat, the gluten, soy? it's a question now that I'm going to try to narrow it down. Something I was reminded of this week that I completely forgot about. Um, my mom mentioned that when I was growing up that I had a bunch of allergies. I outgrew those in my early high school years, but I was allergic to over 80 something different things, and a lot of them were food based and some plants. I couldn't have things like watermelon, turnip greens, collards. Couldn't have wheat. I had to eat cornmeal for like a corn tortilla. That's all I could have. My peanut butter and jelly sandwiches was on a corn tortilla with peanut butter. I wasn't allergic to peanuts, but I was allergic to other tree nuts. But so many different things that I was allergic to, and I outgrew that. And it's possible that the reason why I'm thriving on carnivore now is could I still be sensitive to some of those foods that I once was highly allergic to? I had to take shots weekly, and I'd break out in rashes all over my mouth, my nose, hard to breathe. It was embarrassing. Uh, it was just rough. I thought I was past that in my life. I could still be sensitive to it. Is that's why I'm having my digestive issues? Is that why I'm having my high inflammation? I don't know. It might be interesting to go get tested again at an immunologist and see if any of those things are affecting me still. So, said a lot there.
Pork roast that I throw in the crock pot with some salt and butter. And then on Saturday is when you tried that mango and yogurt. That was last night.
Yeah, so introduced mango last night for the first time, and it was great. I've had no issues at all with fruits. You've introduced what, strawberries?
Blueberries,
Blueberries.
mangoes. I've eaten apple. Everything's been fine.
I've only done blueberries and mangoes.
So today for lunch we had beef patties with some eggs, and my sister had asked if we wanted any seasoning in the beef patties, and I said sure, go for it. Just no sugar, any fake junk, and like MSGs or anything like that, which we're all pretty good about that kind of stuff. And she said okay, I'll add it. So she added it. It tasted great. Everything was fine. I didn't have any effects from it. Um,
So me, on the other hand, I had some issues afterwards. It was kind of digestively, burping and gassy, stomach churning, and I think it's because of the seasoning. Because the seasoning had sea salt, black pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder, and we've had all four of those. The chomps that we bake occasionally has the onion and garlic. Haven't seen any issues there, but it also had celery seed, which I haven't had before, and also with celery seed in the animal-based diet, it says avoid seasonings that are come from seeds. So celery seed, coriander, and the other things. So I think I have an issue with celery seed. Uh, Determined that today.
maybe it.
Might be it. Another
Something
question.
that simple.
Moving on from that, this week we're going to be introducing some new things, and we had a comment from somebody on YouTube that said to reduce our dairy consumption with the ice cream, we can use coconut. There's a lot of good coconut ice cream recipes out there, and coconut's something it's animal based. Is it also on paleo?
Mm-hmm.
So very versatile fruit.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of coconuts today. Got some fresh coconut. We got coconut cream, coconut milk, and shredded coconut. And you're going to make coconut ice cream
I'm
tonight?
going to try. I found a recipe. I'm going to try it out. We'll share it with y'all, let you know if it's good. But I'm also going to add that almond butter to it, like I mentioned earlier. So it's just going to be the coconut. I'm not going to do, so what we've been doing lately is, and we are not affiliated with them in any way. Let me just throw that in there. That's just how good this is. We really like it. It's really clean, tastes phenomenal. We've tried the equipped version before this, and I was not a fan at all. It's still in my pantry. I haven't even found a way to use it yet. This has been absolutely phenomenal. I'm not a huge chocolate protein person, and this has been astounding. I mean, we've only got like that much left. As you can see, the boys have been getting some in the morning in milk. You've been getting some in the morning. And then the rest has gone to making ice cream. And so I made a comment on one of those videos that I was going to make a cheesecake, a Carno cheesecake, and I was trying to kind of cut back some on the ice cream because it's so dairy heavy, and we do it at least a few times a week. And somebody had graciously left that comment that, hey, why don't you try coconut cream or coconut milk instead and try that out. So thank you for that. We're definitely going to try that tonight and then see how it turns out. I'm going to put some almond in it and almond butter in it and see
We'll use
how
this
it
one,
is.
the
And
vanilla.
then, I don't know, maybe the vanilla. I don't know. The vanilla I use in the mornings in my coffee.
If we don't go with that,
good.
then there's nothing animal based at all in it, in the ice cream.
Well, this would add the protein too. So yeah, I
Yeah.
can do some scoops of that. So that's where we are on everything. And then we've got, I mean, you're still seeing hearing us say week 11 or like day 77, all that stuff. Our original goal was 90 days carnivore. Can safely say that I have moved on from that. I think I made it 64 days carnivore. So when you hear me doing these videos and stuff, I'm a little like back and forth. Like, what day do I say? In the beginning, it was carnivore day so and so. I'm trying to figure out a new way to introduce the videos now because I'm technically not carnivore anymore. Now
I'm still carnivore.
you are technically
more
carnivore. And like I said, I've not jumped off the deep end or anything. When I make meals for us, they're still carnivore meals. I'm just adding in there. So I'm eating like RX bars that have like, the 2 simple ingredients in it, stuff like that. Weight wise is not something that we've talked about in a couple of weeks. So my journey personally was nothing in the beginning. This is week 11, no weight loss, and then actually had ended up gaining like 4 pounds, dropping weight, gaining like 6 pounds overnight. It was a roller coaster. It was a mess. And eventually was like, I don't even care anymore. Right now, I'm the lowest that I have been, and I have been off of the classic carnivore now for a little over 2 weeks. I guess 2 weeks now, and I'm the lightest I've been. So I think that is a lot of people will say you don't need to be looking at the scale, you need to be looking at other issues, and I agree, and I completely understand that. But then in another sense, like when you're gaining 5 and 6 pounds overnight, I don't know what's going on, but so that's been nice to see. And that helps me more mentally. And then the physical changes of the backaches and such like that is just a real positive for carnivore. But it has been nice, to be able to come off that restriction a little bit and still feel as good as I did, if not better, because I did struggle with the way I felt on carnivore as far as energy levels go. And still sleeping fantastic, all that, still getting all those benefits, still haven't added sugar back in, nothing like that. So when I say I did it for 64 days, that I'm technically not carnivore anymore, it's not like I've gone off the deep end and I'm eating chocolate chip.
The only
cookie
sugars
cakes.
that you're getting would be from the strawberry.
The fruit, the natural sugars.
Milk, I think the milk has sugar in it. Natural sugar, yeah.
Yeah, and I did use monk fruit sweetener for the cheesecake that I made the other night.
That was phenomenal. We didn't even talk about that, did we?
I don't remember what night that was. Maybe it was Friday. I think it was Friday I made it. It was
good. That cheesecake was really good, yeah. So on the topic of weight, when we started this, I was at 158, and I dropped down to my lowest. It was around 143, 144. I was my lowest weight. And then I was hovering around 144, 145-ish, 146, something like that. And I graduated high school, I was 145. So I dropped a lot of weight, leaner, a lot more energy. The dad pudge around here is going away. So I started working out as well. Today completed my 30 days straight of working out. So I'm gaining muscle now, but I also increased dairy. And people say you drink dairy, you drink milk, you're going to gain weight. So I know I'm gaining weight muscle wise, but I also increased my dairy consumption since last week.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's been a week now drinking at least a cup of milk a day. And I weighed this morning, I was almost at 150. So
and you had gotten down to what?
143. Jeez. And I was hovering around 145, 146-ish, something like that. So I almost hit 150 as I weighed this morning. It was like 149.3, something like that. So is it the milk? Is it the muscle? I'm not too concerned about it, but
it is nice to see you gaining because you didn't want to lose from the beginning.
I don't want to gain the pudge back. If it's weight gain, I want to gain muscle.
All right. So
that it.
where we go from here. Just slowly introducing stuff. Coconut tonight. See how it goes. I don't think we'll have any kind of trouble with coconut.
Mm-mm.
I don't know what we're going to try that I think we'll be like, oh, we'll have trouble with that because we eat.
I really want to try sourdough bread maybe this week, if not next. That'll help answer the gluten sensitivity thing. Plus, we like sourdough bread. They may introduce some of that.
There's a big loaf sitting on the stove right now for the boys. So
One of our vendors we had at the farm event this past week, we got several of them and froze several of them. Kids been tearing it up. Looks really good. But yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Yep.
So we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
If you're liking what you see, hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. It helps us with algorithms and all that good stuff. So appreciate all those who've been following us since the beginning. We'll see where we go from here.